Wagner Forces chief has called the move a rout as Ukraine announced gains made around the battlefield city. Moscow has conceded that its men have retreated north of the eastern Ukrainian battleground city of Bakhmut, in what the commander of the Wagner Private Army of Russia has dubbed a rout. Russian forces in Bakhmut have been Moscow's main target for months throughout the heaviest fighting of the war. The Russian setback comes following reports of Ukrainian advances around the city and signals a coordinated push by Kiev to encircle Russian forces there. The biggest Ukrainian successes in the past 6 months are now being reported by both sides, despite the fact that Ukraine has provided few details and downplayed claims that a long-planned counteroffensive has actually started. Igor Konashenkov, a spokesman for the Russian Ministry of Defense, claimed that Ukraine has initiated an assault north of Bakhmut with more than 1,000 troops and up to 40 tanks. If true, this would be the largest Ukrainian offensive since November. According to Konashenkov, the Russians had fended off 26 attacks, but forces in one sector had retreated to better positions near the Berkivka Reservoir, northwest of Bakhmut. Yevgeny Prigozhin, head of the Wagner forces that have led the campaign in the city, said in an audio message, "What Konashenkov described, unfortunately, is called a rout and not a regrouping." In a separate video message, Prigozhin said the Ukrainians had seized high ground overlooking Bakhmut and opened the main highway leading into the city from the west. The loss of the Berkivka Reservoir, the loss of this territory they gave up, that's 5 square kilometers, just today, Prigozhin said. The enemy has completely freed up the Chasiv Yar Bakhmut road which we had blocked. The enemy is now able to use this road, and secondly, they have taken tactical high ground under which Bakhmut is located, said Prigozhin, who has repeatedly denounced Russia's regular military over the past week for failing to supply his forces in Bakhmut. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he met with the top military commanders on Friday, noting that General Alexander Syrsky reported his forces stopped the enemy and even pushed him back in some directions. In his nightly address to the Ukrainian people, Zelensky praised his troops and noted the low morale of the Russian forces. The occupiers are already mentally prepared for defeat. They have already lost this war in their minds, he said. We must push them every day so that their sense of defeat turns into their retreat, their mistakes, their losses. In a statement on Telegram on Friday, Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar confirmed that Ukrainian forces gained ground around Bakhmut, reiterating statements from military commanders earlier this week. In Washington, White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said the U.S. has assessed that Bakhmut remained contested territory. Ukrainians have not given up their defense of Bakhmut and the Russians haven't given up their attempts to take Bakhmut, Kirby said. Every single day, the lines change back and forth. I mean, sometimes block by block. According to data from the Ukrainian president's office, there have been at least 2 deaths and 22 injuries in additional clashes since Thursday. A school and residential structure were destroyed in a Russian attack that hit Kramatorsk, where some Ukrainian military troops are stationed, according to Donetsk Governor Pavlo Kirilenko. According to him, 12 civilians were killed by Russian bombardment that struck 11 cities and villages in the area. Since late last year, Moscow has been putting together lines of anti-tank fortifications along hundreds of miles of the front in anticipation of an expected invasion. Civilians in Ukraine's partially seized Zaporizhia province who had been living close to the combat zone have started to be evacuated. In remarks made public on Friday, the commander of Russia's Black Sea Fleet claimed that in response to a wave of Ukrainian drone assaults against its home base, the Crimean port of Sevastopol, the fleet's defenses were also being tightened.